Rich Eisen is the big media name we've been talking about.
Okay.
And listen to what he says with regard to Trey Lance and being on this team.
If Purdy starts throwing now and he starts showing up and he can go in training camp and they're looking at him saying, oh, he looks just like the kid last year and he's not sitting there with his arm in ice and he does what he needs to do in training camp and he does what he needs to do in the first preseason game, then he's your guy. And they're going to go ride with him. And they'll have Darnold and Lance sitting there as backups unless somebody gets hurt elsewhere in training camp. And then all of a sudden they'll be taking calls again for Lance. That's the guy. That's the guy. Because he's the one with a fifth-year option that's going to be through the roof. And if the Niners want to send him somewhere else and not have to deal with that and have to make that decision based off of hardly seeing him, let somebody else deal with that.
I'm telling you, he's really on to something, which is that the story that started before the draft got tucked away because nothing happened, but it's not over yet. And the 49ers, everybody's right about, sure, do they have PTSD about all the quarterback injuries? Sure. What's the reason? I don't know, but I know that the 49ers certainly don't want to end up in the playoffs without a quarterback again. So they're going to keep options open until they've got more options than are necessary. So when we, for instance, share this opinion of you have to keep Trey, you've said this a bunch of times. You got to keep Trey because 49ers are probably going to need 8 quarterbacks this year.
I think I said 6, but
whatever it is, right? Well, if you're going to get that far down the list, does that need to still be Trey Lance? If he's third, when you get to QB3, normally your season's already over. Because again,
it wasn't last year.
Well,
you made it to the conference championship game.
Remember now, there's more than one kind of injury. A lot of times guys get hurt. Jalen Hurts, well, you're just going to be back in a few weeks.
Yeah.
The 49ers didn't just suffer 2 QB injuries, 3 QB injuries as it ended up. All of them were season enders. Okay? That, I think we can all agree, is really rare.
It's unusual.
3 quarterback season-ending injuries. And I know that you're Brock's was in the playoffs. But had that been at any point in the season,
he's done.
Season ending. He's done. 3 season-ending injuries. That's crazy. So I think that they're willing to take the chance that that's not going to happen again. And if you do get to the point where Brock is ready to go, and should Sam outplay Trey this offseason, I'm telling you, you gotta pull the trigger right then. You've got to pull the trigger right then. And he brings up a reason we haven't even been bringing up, which is the second you leave him on the roster to start the year, especially if he's QB3, you downgrade his trade value, and you got to get him out the door as quick as possible because of the fifth-year option decision that's coming up at the end of the year, after which he may not even play.
Well, you're not picking up his fifth-year option. If he's QB3...
he's walking out the door.
Well, that's going to be the way that goes. And if you trade him now, you're going to have to eat some dead cap that I don't know if you want to eat. I think it's $10 million, according to Spotrac, is the dead cap after this year. If you get rid of him before, it's a $20 million dead cap hit. So if you're that sold on the fact that Trey Lance is not the guy, if he really is going to be QB3 and you don't even think that he's good enough to be QB3, and you could imagine finding another quarterback to be QB3 if you need one, then yeah, go ahead and trade him before the season, but realize you're going to have to eat $20 million in a dead cap cost, and that's not nothing. Now, you probably have the cap room to do it.
Yeah, it's already baked in right now.
Right, but you're not going to have a player, so you can't go out and get another player. You'd have to get
draft pick. Yeah, you get a draft pick.
I mean, for this year, for QB3. In terms of...
No, you would trade Trey Lance and all this for a draft pick for next year.
You have that other Allen. You don't have Josh Allen. You have the other Allen. Yeah, you have Brandon Allen. Thank you.
Allen, yes.
Not Tim Allen, but Brandon Allen. He's QB4 right now, so he would be QB3,
right?
Essentially. But
I mean, listen, here's a funny thing. Because of the circumstance, we're all talking about it, and therefore I get it. When in the history of ever have we cared about QB3? Like when? This person is traditionally not even on the roster.
But not anymore. And you look around the league last year, and I mentioned this in our show thread or our call yesterday, you had 69 quarterbacks start in the National Football League last year. So more teams than not had to go beyond QB1. And a handful of them had to go to QB3. Now, some of those were because QB1 and QB2 weren't very good.
Yeah, by choice.
Other situations were you had injuries. The only team that was really good and competitive that had to go that deep in the depth chart is the 49ers.
Yeah, I'm trying to just, and this is just me scrolling, but if you look at the league, and I'm talking QBs who were like clearly the guy. Nobody was benching this guy. He's a good player.
Yeah.
How many of those got hurt? Josh Allen never did. Tua obviously did.
Yep. Herbert did. I don't know if he missed a game.
But I don't think he missed a game.
Yeah.
No.
Stud.
They got absolutely torched in that game after the rib injury, but by Jacksonville. But he played. Burrow never got hurt. Lamar, he got hurt. Trevor Lawrence never got hurt. Mahomes never got hurt. Carr never got hurt. Wilson did, right? He missed a few games. Russell Wilson, he got hurt. Dak Prescott obviously got hurt. Hurts, yep, he missed a few games. Danny Dimes never did. Kirk Cousins never missed. Jared Goff never missed. Aaron Rodgers didn't miss, right? He didn't miss a game, did he?
I don't think so.
Did Jordan Love start?
No.
I don't think he did. Justin Fields, he played. Brady, he played. Geno Smith, he played. Stafford and Murray got hurt. So more than not, made it. I think we as a fan base have decided that playing 17 games as a quarterback
You left out the Niners.
Right, because we already,
Garoppolo.
already discussed.
Hurt.
Yeah.
Trey Lance. Hurt. Brock Purdy. Hurt. Josh Johnson didn't start, but he got hurt. Yeah. So you were down to QB5 and you didn't have one. So
Yep.
It's and 68, by the way, is the number of starting quarterbacks.
Right, but I guess my point is that it is very possible to play 17 games as a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Those who were secure in their starting hood, most of them made it. Most of them. You know, maybe it's only 65%, but most of them made it.
Right, but the ones who didn't make it were significant in not making it, and you're a team that fancies itself as a Super Bowl contender. So if your starting quarterback doesn't make it, and as the 49ers organization knows, your starting quarterback usually doesn't make it. 6 of 7 Shanahan years, your starting quarterback hasn't made it. So I think it's more incumbent upon you as an organization to make sure you have a legitimate QB2 and probably a good QB3 because you've needed one in the past.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on Twitch, YouTube, and the free Odyssey app. I guess the Trey Lance conversation is a little bit more intricate than that, though. It's not as simple as just, hey, let's keep as many quarterbacks around as possible because our guys often get hurt. The fifth-year option is a thing. Letting the league know that Sam Darnold is in front of him is a thing. In other words, you can't. If Trey is 3, you can't get to him until you've already announced to the world that he's not 2. Right? If Brock gets hurt, whoever takes that field, that second, you're sending a message to the world on what you think about Trey Lance. And it's either one of support, which is, man, he's right there, but Brock has just beat him out right now, or we signed Sam Darnold to come in for $3 million, and he's better than Trey, too.
Right.
Second you do that, everything changes.
But when you have that situation, you don't have to make that decision until you have to make that decision. That's Bob Myers. You don't make a decision until you have to make a decision. And maybe you use Trey Lance in other ways. Maybe you use Trey Lance in certain packages. I'm not saying you go to a straight 2 QB system because Kyle Shanahan already said that when they did that last year, it was a, quote, mistake, and it was too disjointing for the offense. But if you have Trey Lance, you can do things with Trey Lance in small doses and still utilize his skills that neither Brock nor Sam Darnold really has.
Yeah, I tell you what, like every single thing they do this offseason, and then the backdrop will be behind the scenes what Brock is achieving. But Brock already being ready to throw here, I think, next week is, I don't know, it's not a good sign for Trey Lance and the 49ers as a future pairing. I'll just say that.
Well,
I'll
I don't think it looks good no matter what as a future pairing. And I mentioned this yesterday, Mark, you're not going to sign Brock Purdy and Trey Lance to second contracts. You're not going to do it for both of them. Right now, Brock Purdy is not only the leader in the clubhouse to get that second contract, it's not even close. Brock Purdy has 3 more years, and Trey Lance would have 3 years if he picked up his 5th-year option. But unless Trey Lance becomes the starter at some point, you're not picking up his fifth-year option.
888-957-9570. How about Gene in Oakland? Hey, Gene, you're on with Willie and Dibby. What are you doing?
What am I doing? Driveway, you there?
Yeah, of course we're here.
Hey, Gene.
Where are we going to go?
No, I just switched to my Bluetooth. Anyway.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, always talk about Trey. I don't know. I just wonder why there's so much, frankly, interest in him at this point. I mean, he's a $10 million QB3 that to now has shown himself to be below average and injury prone. So, I mean, simply put, I think this guy needs to be moved. We need to get whatever we can before we have to deal with the 50-year option.
You might be right, Gene, but don't you think you're jumping ahead a little bit? There are two sentences you said in there that I want to ask you about. One of them is you said he's QB3. We don't know that yet. He might be, but we don't know that yet. And then you said something about him being like ineffective. And I don't know that we know that yet either. You know what I mean? Like what number 3 overall pick only gets 4 games?
Well, I mean, he's gotten more than 4. He's 2-2. I mean, I think he's completed like under 55% of his passes. He's been erratic. His judgment is bad in many cases. I mean, the play that he got injured on, that was a read option, right? He wasn't supposed to run into the line against 300 plus pound linemen. I mean, that was a bad decision on his part. I don't blame Shanahan so much as I blame him. So, I mean, he may develop. He may be something someday, but we're paying $10 million for, right now, I think you have to rate him as a QB3, and he's simply not worth it, in my mind.
Yeah, no, Gene, that's fine. Thanks, Gene. Appreciate it. I'm not ready to say that Sam Darnold is better right now than Trey Lance. Maybe he is. I think that's believable, but I have no idea if that's the case. And even if you do buy the idea that Trey makes bad decisions on the field, I don't know. That's kind of what first-year players do. And I know he's played 2 years technically, but that's what brand-new people do. You got to go out there and mess up so that you can figure out how to not mess up. That's the whole deal, and I guess that's what we're trying to figure out.
But you say that, then you look at Brock Purdy, who didn't seem to have those judgment errors and didn't seem to, quote, mess up
That's a fair point.
too many times. And he made some mistakes, of course, everybody does, but Trey Lance didn't have the same opportunity and seemed to make a lot more mistakes than Brock Purdy did when he got his chance in the field.
Well, okay, so let's actually piece that apart. The rookie year was one thing for Trey, got hurt quickly. But even if let's just look at last year and ask yourself what Brock would have done with those 5 quarters, okay? 4 of them were played in a driving rainstorm. And then there was 1 quarter, and the Niners were ahead, and they were driving. I think they were in the red zone when he got hurt, right? Yeah. So, I'm with you. I think it's a strong point. I'm very surprised that Brock Purdy was able to just waltz in and be like, beep, boop, boop, bop, and we're going to go down the field and score 33 points a game.
Yeah.
Very surprised, still to this day. But even with that, I don't know if we ever really got a feel for who Trey Lance is on the field. I think we look at stats and we go, this is what he did. And it's like, it's never felt like it got started. Every single time it's a car that won't start.
Right. And you mentioned the Chicago game. You were there. It was not really a fair way to judge any quarterback. And, the plays that were made by Justin Fields in that game, there weren't many. There was a couple late where he used his legs to buy time and he made a couple of big throws to wide open players and broken coverages, but neither quarterback had a chance to really showcase their skills in that monsoon, and then he gets hurt in the next game early on. So we really don't know exactly what Trey Lance could be, but the one thing that we do know is Kyle Shanahan's had a chance to see him in practice, in meetings, and all the rest of it. So the determination he's going to make, is he QB2, is he QB3, is he QB1 if Brock Purdy's not able to go, those judgments are all based on more than just 5 quarters in last year.
There is one thing I'm ready to say when you talk about this, though, and it's kind of our theme of the day about how much the future matters to you. I think that The whole idea of homegrown players, right? And Gabe Kapler talked about it this morning with Bonte and Joe. The whole idea of homegrown players is so exciting. And the second we draft them, we get attached to them because of the excitement. You know what I mean? Like James Wiseman never did anything that would be like, oh my gosh, we've got to have that back. No, it was all just excitement based on a concept.
This is James Wiseman.
Thank you, James. And so sometimes that means fans are unwilling to give that up because of the anticipation. You know what it is, Dibs?
It's an anticipation sensation.
It is, and I'll pay the buck because I led you to it.
Thank you.
But I don't really have that right now for Trey Lance. I don't have oh gosh, we can't let him go because we got to see what it might be. I only have that if we don't have an alternative. So the Giants who are coming up, and it's all exciting. It's like, yeah, I'll get excited. And now if someone called and was like, we'll trade you for Casey Schmidt. I'm like, no, get your hands off of my Schmidt. You can't do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You can't do that because it's not like there's an alternative
there's nothing
option.
Else.
If they had an all-star shortstop right now, I'd be like, sure, take the maybe. Take the maybe. I got this.
And you feel this way because of Brock Purdy.
Right.
Because Brock Purdy did what he did in 8 games, and you feel like, and they feel like, he's the guy, so your enthusiasm for Trey Lance goes down accordingly.
And same thing, although much more proven, in Steph Curry. I'm not worried, oh gosh, we can't lose Jordan Poole or Jonathan Kuminga. Sure you can. Sure you can.
Because you got Steph Curry.
Sure you can. We have something that's working right now. I'm not worried about 3 years from now and what if they blossom. If James Wiseman becomes really good, bother you?
No. No.
Like not even a little bit.
A little bit. If he goes on to be 20-10 and he leads his team deep in the playoffs and becomes a winning player, yeah, it'll bother me.
I figure I'm already bothered. If I'm going to be bothered, I'm already bothered. You had the number 2 pick and you got someone that didn't splash. So that's already, for me, that's a done deal. It's a miss by the Golden State Warriors.
It bothers me less because they won a championship.
Right.
That part of it.
Right. And I understand turning the number 2 pick in the draft into a guy that many just perceive to be a whatever kind of a bench piece in GP2 because what they were trying to do was help Steph Curry. And I get that.
Right. And that's what they'll try to do this offseason.
Yeah.
So if they trade Kuminga, Poole, or Moody or any other young player, another futurist piece, it'll be for that same reason that they traded Wiseman last year.
You mentioned your guy, Kevin O'Connor. We'll have this for you in just a handful of minutes. He talked about Bob Myers and the way things seem to be pointing right now. We'll have that for you in a little bit. I want to keep going on the phones, though. Bud in Oakland on Willard and Dibs. Hey, Bud, what are you doing?
Hey, what's good? Headed home, man. Headed home.
Good, finally.
Hey, so this is the thing, man. And I hear what you're saying, Willard, about, you're not too hung up on the guy just because of where he was taken. But just like you said, you're not worried about the Warriors giving up other pieces because you have Steph Curry. Steph Curry is a proven winner. Let's not forget that he's a proven champion. So although Purdy just gave you guys the Jimmy G syndrome because he did the same thing Jimmy G did when his first season with the Niners. He played like 5 or 6 games. He was miraculous. You give him a full season. So I guess you guys are trying to look for that repeat. But at the same time, if you give up draft capital for somebody, if he comes out and he plays well or he does look good in the off season, don't you think you want to at least give him a chance because you didn't get a chance to see exactly what the guy can be? I mean, 4 or 5 games in, he ends his season. So by knowing what you have in Brock Purdy, don't you feel comfortable with just saying, okay, well, let's at least see what this guy is made of. Let's at least give him another shot. And then, who knows? Purdy, this may be the start of the Jimmy G syndrome with Purdy. I mean, Jimmy G was good, then he gets injured, then he's injured, then he's injured. Purdy was good, he got injured. Maybe this would be the Jimmy G syndrome. You never know. So, just be comfortable with what you have and be thankful for what you have.
You don't know. You're right. But at the same token, I don't want to just go out there and see what you have in Trey Lance. And here's why, Bud. Do you remember, not last year, the year before, when the 49ers, in the second half of a game against the Los Angeles Rams, were staring directly down the barrel of missing the playoffs entirely?
Yeah.
And then Garoppolo took them on a really great fourth quarter. They rallied, they won, they went to the playoffs, and damn near went to the Super Bowl. I bring that up because what would have happened that day if the 49ers were like one game worse in the standings going into that game?
They would have probably gone to the bench.
They would have already been eliminated.
Yeah.
So you don't have time in the NFL to give away games.
No.
You cannot go, look, we know we got Purdy, so let's put him over here. And let's take the first 3 games of the season and see what Trey can do. Oh, gosh, no. It could ruin your whole season.
Especially this season where your schedule is a lot tougher than it was last year.
I mean, Trent Williams might be going in the last season of his career. I'm not wasting a minute. I'm not wasting a minute.
Well, you can never waste a minute in the NFL. You only have 17 games, and even though you have a 7th playoff team now added to the National Football League, which means 9-8, 10-7, you're probably going to get in, or at least have a decent chance. So the regular season games don't mean quite as much as they used to. There's an extra regular season game and an extra playoff team, so the margin for error is not as small as it used to be. However, you still don't want to give away games in the NFL.
No, and by the way, he's not wrong. Brock is not proven. It's not done. Like, he's not a completed package. It's over. Brock Purdy's going to be fantastic for his career. Sure, it could turn the other way, whether it's because of injury or poor play. But the 49ers have a clear opinion that he is their best player at quarterback. And if that's the clear opinion, then there is absolutely zero wiggle room to mess around with that. You don't have anything in the hip pocket. Oh, put him over here, and then when you need him, can you imagine how the locker room would take that? Can you imagine if you started off poorly? Like, no, you got to take advantage of every single win. It's the beauty of the NFL is how needed every game is.
And that's why we love the NFL so much, the urgency of it, and you can't miss a game, Baseball, you get 162. The NBA, you get 82. And, the Lakers started out 2-10 this year, and they were one of the 4 teams remaining at the end of the postseason.
Crazy.
That tells you all you need to know about the urgency of that regular season.
Fair point. Jose, Sunnyvale. Hey, Jose, what are you doing?
I was just hanging out, man. I'm driving home. This is awesome. Man, look, the way I look at the 49er quarterback situation, at one point it was so dire that I was thinking, gosh, damn it, let's just get Jamie Foxx in there, man. Let's do it. But here's the thing, right? It just goes to show you how much pressure coach was under, the GM, to get a quarterback because of Jimmy G. Then you get this unproven potential, unrealized potential with Trey. And then you luck into someone like Brock Purdy. And it just worked out better for him as opposed to the young stud. And sometimes that's just the way it goes. And I think if you're going to try and test to see what Trey has to offer, hey, just do it in the preseason. Let's just see what he has. If he can do well there, that's great, gives you some indication. But it also gives you some value for other teams looking at what he's doing, and that creates more leverage for you to possibly do with Trey later on or what have you, right? But as long as you got Brock, I think he's the go-to guy. And last season, he showed a lot of us what we remembered how the Niners used to be with Joe Montana and Steve Young. Get that offense going, use the tight ends, and let's go, man. So, thanks.
Yeah, Jose, thank you. I mean, gosh, if he is exactly what he looked like last year, then yeah, it's kind of a non-starter. It's a non-starter. We don't know that yet. We don't know that yet. He's played 8 games. But this is the way I described it. The score in Chicago had me on a couple of weeks ago and asked about this. Give it to me. Come on. Thank you. They had me on and they asked about this draft pick, and they almost were kind of like, is everybody furious? Is everybody mad? You trade 3 first-rounders to go get Trey Lance, and then you never play him, and apparently he's inaccurate and all these things. Like, how could you go through the draft process and come away with a pick like that and then not like him and then barely ever play him? This is, as we said yesterday, it's unprecedented. And I said, sure, you're right. You're right about all of it. It might end up being the worst draft pick in the history of the San Francisco 49ers. And they might get away with it. Because there's no harm, no foul if Brock Purdy can play.
Right.
None.
And Brock Purdy so far can play.
He can play.
If he gets healthy and he shows what he showed last year And if you have a successful year this year and Trey Lance doesn't see the field at all, and you go 11-6 and you go as far in the playoffs as you did last year, and you're one of the 4 teams left playing, and you lose again, well, thanks for coming, Trey Lance. And yeah, we made a mistake. We shouldn't have done that. We shouldn't have traded 2 first-rounders to move up, 3 first-round picks to get another first-round pick and use it on a quarterback that we barely played. Yes, it's a mistake. P.S. We have just gone to back-to-back conference championship games, and Kyle Shanahan has this thing rolling. So, yeah, egg on our face, but you're able to shake that off if you continue to have success.
Yeah, absolutely.